Hello, today we are going to be discussing using the payment function in Excel. This is function you use to calculate a monthly payment, like a mortgage or a car payment, something like that. I say monthly, it doesn't have to be monthly, but typically that's what people will use it for. And so this function is going to be the PMT function. That's the payment function. And so the first way in order to use this function, anytime you use any sort of function, you're going to want to use the equal sign. And that tells Excel, hey, we're going to be using a function right now. And then when you type in PMT, it's going to, as you can see right here, it says calculates the payment for a loan based on constant payments and a constant interest rate. So your interest rate could be 8%, and you're going to pay it's assuming that you want to pay the same amount every month. Okay? And also, so the next thing you're going to want to do is after you have the equal sign PMT, you're going to just do an open parentheses. And here's the great thing about Excel is it actually tells you what it needs in order to calculate this. One thing you will notice looking at this is that you have a rate, which is going to be an interest rate. You have NPER, which is going to be the number of payments that you're intending on making for this loan. And you're also going to have PV for present value, which is how much the loan is. Now you'll notice there's two more things at the end around the brackets, which is FV, which is future value, and type. Now future value is, the thing you got to understand about these brackets is that they're optional. You do not have to put anything in these spaces, and Excel will use this formula just fine. So for example, if you don't include anything for the future value, it's going to assume that the future value is 0, that at the end the loan will be completely paid off. And then the type, there's basically two types of loans. You could either put a 0 or a 1 in here, and basically it determines whether it calculates the interest at the beginning or at the end of the month. We're not really going to use that because at the end of the day it doesn't really make that big of a difference in the amount that you're going to need to pay each month to pay off this loan. Future value, you'd put something in there, for example, if it was a balloon loan, where basically at the end of it you owed $1,000 and you had to pay that all in the last month. But we're going to not use that at all. We're going to assume that at the end of this loan it is going to be 0. So the first thing we're going to need to do here is have our rate. Now, just for sake of simplicity, we are going to assume a 8%. Now, what you have to understand is that this is going to be the interest rate per period. So when we get in there, we're going to have to divide this by 12 since we're going to be doing this on a monthly basis. It'll make more sense once we get in there. Otherwise, the numbers won't add up. NPER is the number of periods. And so what we're going to do is assume that this is a mortgage, and we're going to assume that it's a 30-year. And so to make things simple, we're going to put 30 because that's going to be the number of years for this mortgage. And then the present value of this, we're going to assume that this is a $150,000 mortgage. Okay, and we have everything that we need to figure out what our monthly payment is going to be. So we're going to go up here for our payment, and the first thing you always want to do when doing a financial function in Excel is put a negative mark. And I know that's kind of weird, but basically what if you don't, you'll come out with a negative answer. So what this does is it turns that ultimate negative answer into a positive answer. And so you always want the PMT, open parentheses, and the first thing it's going to ask for is the rate. So we're just going to select our rate here, which is 8%. Now what we're going to do is divide that by 12. Because this is a monthly payment, we're going to take that interest rate is an 8% for the whole year. But we're not trying to figure out for the whole year. We're trying to figure out for the month. So our 8% divided by 12, then we're going to have a comma. in PER, this is a 30-year loan, but we're going to take this number and multiply it by 12. And the reason we're going to do that is because you make 12 payments per year. Now you don't have to. If you said, you know what, I'm going to make one big payment for the entire year, you could totally do that. But most people tend to make a monthly mortgage payment. And the next thing we're going to have is our present value. And so we're going to select here the $150,000, and that is the current amount of the loan. Now, in order for this to work, you always have to have a closed parentheses. So you'll notice that you've got your open parentheses, and now you've got your closed parentheses. And this is everything we need to make this. So when you click the enter key, it's going to show you that at 8% for 30 years, $150,000 mortgage, you will pay $1,165 per month. And that's how you figure out exactly how much you're going to pay per month using the Excel payment function. Now, if we had gone in here, you'll notice I added that negative sign earlier. If we had taken this out and hit enter, you'll see that it's a negative number. It's exactly the same number, $1,100.65. But it just doesn't look right. So the biggest thing is when you're doing this, just make sure you add that negative key in there, and you'll be able to figure out how much you're going to pay per month. And the good thing about this is because we had these separate on the bottom of the program, you'll be able to look at this and make changes. So for example, let's say it's 8%, but let's say we want to change that to a 6%. If you hit enter, all of a sudden, boom, it lowers our payment from $1,100 a month to $899 per month. Let's say we want to make payments, instead of making them for 30 years, we're going to make them for 15 years. Well, that raises it from $899 per month to $1,265 per month. So this formula is a really great way to kind of play with the numbers, play with the interest rates, play with the number of years this mortgage is going to be over, and also play with, for example, let's say instead of wanting a $150,000 house, we want a $5,000 car, and we're going to pay $5,000 car, and it's not going to take us 15 years to pay it off, it's going to take us 3 years to pay it off. And so then we have $152 as opposed to whatever the numbers were before. And so this is a really great way to figure out how much you're going to pay every month. Now, if you want to figure out how much you want to pay in interest, that's also really easy too. So in order to figure out our total interest payments, what we're going to do is we're going to figure out how much we paid over the course of those 3 years, and then subtract what the original loan amount was from that. So what you're going to do here is anytime you always have a function or a formula, hit the equal sign. Since we have a monthly payment of $152.11, we're going to multiply that by how many years we paid that for, and we're also going to multiply that by 12 because we made 12 payments per year. And so you'll notice that over the course of that 3 years, we paid $5,475.95. Well, the current value of the loan at the beginning was $5,000. So what you do is you take what you paid minus that $5,000, and it shows you that what you paid in interest was $475.95. And so if you go back up to original example, it was $150,000. It was over 30 years, and it was at 8% interest. What you'll notice is that in the course of that, we paid $246,232.87 in interest over the course of that 30 years. And so this allows you to say, let's say instead of paying for 30 years, we want to pay for 15 years. Suddenly the amount of interest, you pay more per month, but the amount of interest that you pay over the long run is decreased to $108,026 and some change. So this is how we use our payment function. It's pretty simple, but it's also kind of fun just to kind of play around with the numbers and figure out what it is that you can do with this function. So thanks for watching. Let me know, leave any comments that you have. If you want me to cover anything else, let me know. Otherwise, have